Another question that people have usually is, what is the difference in being a PM in a startup versus a mid or a larger size company? Now, a lot of that depends on your personal preference, that what is the type of environment that you're really more comfortable working in, and the type of environment where you think you will learn the most. Having said that, there are a couple of key differences, obviously. The first and foremost difference is that in a startup, you'll probably not have many processes. Like very few startups will be properly working on agile, or will focus on building proper user stories or PRDs, etc., or have a well defined process for written communication in place. When you're a small team, that works really well, and a lot of people enjoy that just informality of how things work, and maybe that's an attraction for you to join a startup. The slight thing you have to be careful about is, as the team or the startup grows, the onus of building those processes is going to be on you, right? Because if the team goes beyond a certain size with those processes not in place, then things really start going haywire, and we've seen that in many companies. So the advantage is that you'll have a lot of responsibility. In the startup, you might be the only PM, so you might be owning the entire product of the startup, or if you're part of a small team, still owning a big part of the product. The disadvantages, there might be very few users or a smaller number of users. So even if you're owning a large part of the product, it might be for fewer users. There's more uncertainty. Your job role may keep shifting. You have to be really proactive to think on your feet, because there might not be very defined vision even from the top management, because many times things are very fluid in a startup. So you have to be really comfortable in working in that slightly chaotic environment, and then be willing to take on that responsibility of when you feel that the team has grown to a certain size, set those processes in place so that things keep moving and the team keeps evolving with size. In a bigger company, you might have smaller responsibility. Many times there are PMs who are all working on a very small part of, let's say, a checkout flow. In Amazon, there might be a PM who's just looking at the place order and pay button and that flow, and the role would be to really maximize the conversion from cart to payment. Now that's you might think that's a very small part. I'm only working in one part of the funnel, but imagine that one part of the funnel is being used by millions and millions of people every day, right? So that's a decision that you've got to make. Like, how do you personally feel that your work is doing more impact? Is it larger scope of the product, or is it like your work going to like a lot many people? The second thing that obviously is there in larger companies is that there will be set processes. A lot of companies will be strictly following agile, will have processes in place for when do you write user stories, PRDs, who owns Scrum meetings, etc. So you have to be comfortable in kind of going into an environment where there are set processes and you have to follow them. The third advantage or a disadvantage of a big company, depending on what kind of a company is is that usually there'll be a more senior product person for you to learn from. If the person is good, they can really influence your career in a very positive manner. And especially early on in your career, your managers probably influence your career the most. If the person is bad, which is the case in some of the companies, because people are still figuring this role out, it may have a negative effect of how you are shaped as a product manager. So whenever you're joining a big company, do your diligence, look at the team, like who are the rest of the product people, try and understand how the product role functions in this organization. Like, what do PMs do on a day-to-day basis? How is the product evolving? Talk to a couple of people in the product team, in their engineering team, learn more about their culture, make sure it's a good fit, before taking that decision to join a large company.